Hello, all you freedom-loving people. After a festive inauguration ceremony, President Trump signed many executive orders to get his administration headed in an America First direction, and General Flynn shared a powerful message. Okay, let's get into it. It was a very festive and eventful weekend. The celebrations kicked off with pre-inauguration fireworks at President Trump's National Golf Club in Sterling. The display was part of a reception dinner at the club. Along with his family members, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump watched the fireworks together. Following the fireworks on Sunday, President Trump held a Make America Great Again victory rally at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Notable figures spoke at the rally like Elon Musk, President Trump's Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller, independent journalist Megyn Kelly, Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, and UFC President and CEO Dana White. The rally featured performances by Kid Rock, The Village People, Billy Ray Cyrus, and Lee Greenwood. The Village People performed their hit YMCA that has become a signature song at President Trump's rallies. At the rally, President Trump offered a preview of the action that he took soon after being sworn in. President Trump also remarked that in the coming days, his administration will release the remaining records related to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King. On Monday, Washington, D.C. experienced extremely low temperatures on Inauguration Day, so it was announced that the inauguration was going to be moved indoors. This was not the first time that an inauguration ceremony was held indoors as it was 40 years ago in 1985 when then President Ronald Reagan was inaugurated for his second term. It was indoors also due to cold weather. Former White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany highlighted the remarkable similarities between President Trump and President Reagan.
And what's interesting to me is the Ronald Reagan comparison, because not only is the inauguration indoors, you have the hostage release, really right before Trump comes in. You had the assassination attempt, Ronald Reagan as well. Trump is kind of a Reagan-esque president in more ways than one.
President Trump had two close calls with death during his election campaign last year. Now that he's officially in charge of the White House, security is taken very seriously. Law enforcement agencies upgraded security measures in case of a lone wolf attack. Police from all over the U.S. poured into Washington, D.C. for support. A record 48-kilometer long, 2.4-meter high anti-climbing fence was erected around the safety zone for yesterday's ceremony. Media reporters outside the Capitol Hill witnessed helicopter patrols at least 5 times in half an hour. Those who did not obtain the latest versions of the permits to join the indoor event were blocked from the perimeter of the Capitol, and journalists were no exception. According to the U.S. Security Service, about 25,000 law enforcement and military personnel were on hand to make sure the inauguration went smoothly. As the second president in U.S. history to not serve consecutive terms, President Trump returned to the White House in a high-profile ceremony. Because the inauguration ceremony was moved indoors, there were strict limits on the number of participants. Some people may not have even gotten a ticket to the ceremony despite donating millions of dollars. President Joe Biden, the 3 still living former presidents, Obama, Bush Jr., and Clinton, were all there to observe the ceremony. However, with the exception of President Obama, the other 3 presidents attended with their wives. Michelle Obama has been out of the public eye, and she has not released a reason for her absence. Guests who are traditionally invited to attend include U.S. dignitaries. But this time, President Trump broke with tradition by inviting some foreign heads of state. Argentine President Javier Milei, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa all accepted the invitation to attend the ceremony. Among them, Noboa especially put aside his re-election campaign to travel to the United States. President Trump also invited the head of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping, but Xi did not dare to attend, and he only sent his representative to attend. Former Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, who recently became leader of the conservative group in the European Parliament, was also present. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, the tropical Trump, was among those invited. However, his passport was confiscated by the Brazilian Supreme Court, preventing him from leaving the country. But some key U.S. ally leaders were not invited. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, EU Executive Board President Ursula von der Leyen, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Indian Prime Minister Modi, and French President Macron were among those who were not invited. However, leaders of conservative political parties in Germany, France, Spain, and Portugal received invitations. The ceremony was also an occasion for billionaire executives. Elon Musk was the guest of honor, of course. Other Silicon Valley giants who were invited included Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, Sundar Pichai, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, and Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, as well as TikTok CEO Xiaozhi Chu. Before the president and vice president took the oath of office, Archbishop Timothy Cardinal Dolan and Reverend Franklin Graham of New York gave the invocation.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, there are times I'm sure you thought it was pretty dark. But look what God has done. We praise him and give him glory.
After the Pledge of Allegiance, President Trump gave a very classy Trump-style speech.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
He reiterated that he is on a mighty mission from God.
Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you.
President Trump announced many of the things that he and his administration are going to do, such as border security, reduction of inflation, resumption of traditional energy extraction, freedom of speech, and many more things for the American people and the world. Some actions will primarily be to correct the previous administration's misguided policies. At the same time, President Trump criticized the chaos that was created by the previous administration, but because officials from the previous administration were there, President Trump did not name them all. However, he did point out that the weaponization of the Justice Department against political opponents would be corrected. This inauguration coincided with Martin Luther King Day, and President Trump made a point of thanking Black and Hispanic voters for their support.
To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true.
President Trump also announced a common sense revolution.
We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Can't do that. Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
President Trump re-emphasized his determination to regain control of the Panama Canal. When President Trump first expressed his intentions, it was assumed that this was just a negotiating tactic. But now President Trump does seem to mean he literally will take back the Panama Canal.
A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs. President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
And Elon Musk was most excited about this quote. Take a look at his hands in the air in excitement.
Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
After the inauguration, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance visited their fans who were not able to watch the ceremony in person. There, President Trump spoke on a topic that he chose not to speak about in the halls of Congress, the J6 hostages.
And I did have a couple of things, to say that were extremely controversial. And between J.D. and Melania and anybody else that heard, please, sir, it's such a beautiful, unifying speech. Please, sir, don't say these things. I said, I'm telling you, it's going to play great. They say, you're right. For this group of people, it's going to play great. You're the only ones I hurt by not, but we had some beauties, didn't we, Melania? She said, sir, calls me sir when she's angry. No, I'm only kidding. I better say I'm only kidding, or the press is going to pick that one up loud and clear. No, but she said, no, I think it would be terrible. It's such a nice speech. I think it's, it all depends on your delivery. How was the delivery? Was it good? But she said it's such a beautiful speech. You can't put things in there that you were going to put in. And I was going to talk about the J6 hostages, but you'll be happy because, it's action, not words that count. And you're going to see a lot of action on the J6 hostages. you a lot.
After the indoor parade and giving a humorous speech, President Trump sat at a desk in front of the crowd in the Capital One Stadium, and he signed a series of executive orders right in front of the crowd so that the world could witness his actions. The executive orders that President Trump signed on day one are essentially a clear reset from the previous administration's playlist, with a few greatest hits from President Trump's first term making a comeback. So let's review some of them. President Trump issued 10 executive actions on border security alone. He reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, and he ended the catch and release of illegal immigrants. President Trump designated cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and he also ordered to end birthright citizenship. Next was the Inflation Memorandum, which will assemble a government-wide strategy to tackle high prices. Based on the memorandum, President Trump will abolish harmful, coercive climate policies that increase the cost of food and fuel. And President Trump also issued a number of executive orders directing federal agencies to examine unfair trade relationships and currency policies with other countries. This includes Canada, Mexico, and China. President Trump also signed an executive order to remove the United States from the World Health Organization. The order ends any negotiations on the WHO pandemic treaty. And President Trump also, again, withdrew the United States from the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. This is projected to save taxpayers $1 trillion. In addition, President Trump declared a national energy emergency, and he opened millions of acres in Alaska to fossil fuel development. With this order, the Department of Interior will restore oil and gas leasing on 13 million acres in Alaska's National Petroleum Reserve. It will also reverse President Biden's restriction on offshore drilling across 625 million acres along the east and west coasts. As part of his energy plan, President Trump rescinded an executive order by President Biden that set a target of 50% zero-emission new vehicle sales by the end of the decade. This means that Americans can buy the car of their choice. President Trump also ordered the formalization of the new Department of Energy Efficiency, or DOGE. As a side note, when talking about DOGE yesterday, Vivek Ramaswamy said that he left the new department to focus on an Ohio governor run. Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio is term limited, and he cannot seek re-election in 2026. And recently, DeWine announced that Governor John Husted would fill the U.S. Senate seat that was held by former Senator J.D. Vance. Following the announcement, Ramaswamy wrote on social media, "It was my honor to help support the creation of DOGE. I'm confident that Elon and team will succeed in streamlining government. I'll have more to say very soon about my future plans in Ohio. Most importantly, we're all in to help President Trump make America great again." Then, in line with President Trump's promise to bring back free speech to America, President Trump issued an executive order against censorship by the government. With this order, federal employees cannot restrain American citizens' free speech, and they cannot use money from taxpayers to that end. One of the biggest concerns may be how President Trump will treat the people who are being held because of the January 6, 2021 incident. President Trump pardoned them all.
Yes, sir. First, we have a list of pardons and commutations relating to events that occurred on January 6, 2021.
Okay, and how many people is this?
I think this order will apply to approximately 1,500 people, sir.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes is among those 1,500 people. President Trump also commuted the sentences of other Proud Boy and Oath Keeper leaders who had been acquitted of sedition. Two of the most high-profile defendants will also be released as a result. One of them is Stuart Rhodes. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison, which President Trump commuted to the end of his sentence. The other was Enrique Tarrio, the former leader and co-founder of the Proud Boys, who was sentenced to 22 years in prison after being accused of masterminding the J6 incident. President Trump granted him a full pardon. The document also directs the U.S. Attorney General to dismiss all pending cases that are related to the incident. This decision will close about 470 active cases. President Trump's pardons for January 6 defendants were issued just hours after President Biden issued a slew of his own preemptive pardons. On Monday, in the final minutes before President Trump was sworn in, President Biden ended his presidency by preemptively pardoning his siblings and their spouses. President Biden also pardoned Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, and the January 6 Congressional Committee, including former Representative Liz Cheney. President Trump also ordered to revoke the security clearance of the 51 former U.S. intelligence officials who signed a letter discrediting the credible reports about the emails that were found on Hunter Biden's laptop. The order said that the signatories had willfully weaponized the credibility of the intelligence community to manipulate the political process by discrediting the reports ahead of the 2020 election. The order also revoked the security clearance of the former National Security Advisor John Bolton due to his 2019 memoir. It stated that Bolton's memoir posed a grave risk of exposing classified material. It also undermined future presidents' ability to request candid advice on matters of national security from their staff. President Trump also gave TikTok 75 days to secure a U.S. buyer. So, with this order, TikTok resumed its service after 14-hour shutdown over the weekend. President Trump also ended all federal programs that are based on race, sex, gender, or other factors, that is, related to diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. President Trump also signed an order to create a revised gender policy. With this order, there are only two genders, male and female. In addition, President Trump renamed the nation's tallest mountain. He renamed it William McKinley, and he renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Without the censorship of speech, we can finally hear about the controversial General Flynn, who many have not been allowed to mention for a long time. Retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn watched a Shenyang performance at Duke Energy Center in St. Petersburg, Florida on January 16th.
This is my first time seeing it, and I was absolutely inspired. I think it's a miracle, actually. It's a very brilliant way to show the true culture of China.
General Flynn describes himself as having studied a great deal of Chinese history and culture and having served in the Asia-Pacific theater. As a result, he knows a lot about China, and he has always admired traditional Chinese culture and wisdom.
I found Shenyang was really a testimony to the true nature of what China could be if they were given an opportunity to be free, an opportunity to have a true culture, a true Chinese culture that goes back thousands and thousands of years.
General Flynn marveled at the way Shenyang was able to give a snapshot of 5,000 years of Chinese history in a 2-hour performance.
Maybe there was 10 or 12 different stories that were told there. Each one of them was totally different, but they all blended together in this beautiful culture that I think that the American people need to see more of.
As we've covered in previous programs, Shenyang cannot be staged in communist China at this time. General Flynn says that it's because the Chinese Communist Party doesn't want the world to understand the greatness and power of traditional Chinese culture.
And one of the things that comes out of Shenyang is a very strong, it's a powerful, powerful sentiment of faith. And I think that's something, and in fact, not only think, I know that the Chinese Communist Party wants nothing to do with faith. And it's a system of government that is very tyrannical. The vast majority of the Chinese people in China know that they are under the boot of a tyrannical dictator, and that's a tragedy.
Regarding recent reports negatively targeting Shenyang that were published by the New York Times, General Flynn questioned such an approach by the news outlet.
New York Times, which is it's one of the major newspapers, certainly news outlets in this country, in the United States, and they've been just attacking, this wonderful creative piece of art that Shenyun is, and I wonder, why? You have to ask why. Why is a major United States newspaper working with the Chinese Communist Party to attack this beautiful piece of art?
With President Trump back in the White House, General Flynn believes America is in for a whole new ride. After watching the Shenyun show, General Flynn posted his interview on X and asked, "Could someone please ensure CCP President Xi reads this article, especially as we move forward with the new Trump administration?" President Reagan started the tradition of outgoing U.S. presidents leaving a congratulatory note to their successors. In 1989, after serving 2 terms as President of the United States, Ronald Reagan wrote a short note congratulating his successor, President George Bush Sr., and he left it in the desk drawer in the Oval Office. Reagan chose a whimsical piece of letterhead drawn by cartoonist Sandra Boynton, featuring an elephant, which is the Republican mascot, surrounded by turkeys. There was also the phrase, "Don't let the turkeys get you down." Reagan wrote that he treasured the memories they shared. He wrote, "Wishing you all the very best." He closed with, "I'll miss our Thursday lunches," and he signed it Ron. When the elder Bush's term ended, he followed President Reagan's example and he wrote a note to his successor, Bill Clinton. He wished Clinton great happiness here in the White House. Bush wrote, "Your success now is our country's success. I'm rooting hard for you." 8 years later, Clinton was succeeded by the younger Bush. Clinton wished the younger Bush success and much happiness. Clinton wrote, "The burdens you now shoulder are great, but often exaggerated. The sheer joy of doing what you believe is right is inexpressible." Similarly, George Bush Jr. left a handwritten message for his successor, Barack Obama, and Barack Obama even wrote a note for his successor, President Trump. Obama wrote, "Millions have placed their hopes in you, and all of us, regardless of party, should hope for expanded prosperity and security during your tenure." Then the time came for the 2020 transition. That year's election was the most controversial in U.S. history. On January 19, 2021, President Trump's family left the White House early, and they did not attend the 46th presidential inauguration the following day. But President Trump still left President Biden a letter, or rather a long note in the Oval Office. So what did it say? Hardly anyone knows because the letter has not been shared with the public. Biden showed the note to some members of his staff, but he didn't let anyone read it. When asked about the note later that day, Biden said that it was a very generous letter. So this may help us understand why Biden laughed so hard when he saw President Trump win the election. Tolerance and kindness can dissolve hatred. President Biden confirmed to reporters on Monday that he also left a letter for President Trump in the Oval Office, but he decided not to give further details. Following the morning service, President Biden and First Lady Jill welcomed President Trump and First Lady Melania to the White House. Biden said, "Welcome home." And later, when President Trump was busy signing the executive orders, a reporter asked if Biden had left him a letter.
President Trump, did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have. Wait. Don't they leave it in the desk? I don't know. Oh.
What's in there?
Thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we found it. Wow. Thank you.
Bill Gates donated $50 million to President Trump's opponent, Kamala Harris, in this election. But after having dinner with President Trump 2 weeks ago, Bill Gates says that his opinion of President Trump has shifted. Not long ago, he revealed to the Wall Street Journal how impressed he was by his private 3-hour-long dinner with President Trump. He told the Wall Street Journal, "I felt he was energized and looking forward to helping to drive innovation. I was frankly impressed with how well he showed a lot of interest in the issues I brought up." He talked about a wide range of topics. The Gates Foundation's focus is said to be on health issues. So he said that global health was a part of their conversation. Gates said that he talked extensively about the topic of HIV, and he tried to convince President Trump that the Gates Foundation is working to find a cure. They also talked about polio. Gates said that at this point, the world is very close to eradicating the disease, but if they stop working on it, it may come back. It's worth noting that Bill Gates also met with President Trump in 2016 before President Trump was first elected. Bill Gates was one of the business titans who was lining up to meet with President Trump since he won the election, but Gates was not invited to the inauguration. He was not among the tech giants who sat behind the Trump family at the inauguration ceremony. An array of executives, including Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, rushed to meet with President Trump, and major companies donated money to fund President Trump's inauguration. President Trump's inauguration fundraising broke all records, reaching an unprecedented $170 million. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.